So we heard a passage this morning, and it was about it was an interesting story. I don't know if you managed to hear. There was a talking donkey in the story. Who noticed that? Did anyone hear that? The donkey started speaking. One of the famous donkeys, Balaam's donkey, and so an interesting passage which we're going to have a look at in a moment. But there are some other famous donkeys, and we've got some pictures there. Let's see if you recognise these donkeys. If they come up on the screen. Who's that one? Eeyore. Yeah, Eeyore. What about that one? Who's that? Donkey. It's an easy name to remember for a donkey. Donkey. What about the wonky donkey? Heard of the wonky donkey? Yeah. Let's keep going. Now that's Arnie. Did you know that Arnold, he's got a pet donkey. Does anyone know what his pet donkey's name is? Terminator. No, her name's Lulu. So this is Arnold's pet donkey, Lulu. And there's another famous donkey. That's Jesus riding on the donkey into Jerusalem. So some famous donkeys are, they're pretty famous, aren't they? We used to have, when I was a kid growing up, my granddad used to have a donkey on the farm, and it was always fun, riding on the donkey. That's the donkey we're going to look at today. This is Balaam's donkey. Just some facts about donkeys. So donkeys, they have excellent night vision. Did you know that? They've got eyes like an owl. They can see in the dark. They can live for up to 50 years. The males are called jacks and the females are called jennies. There's over 180 different breeds of donkeys. And a donkey is stronger than a horse of equal size. So they're quite powerful animals. So there's some things about donkeys. We're going to look at that story in a moment. So stay tuned, but you can go grab an activity pack now, kids. But as we dig into this story, let's have a listen and see what we can learn from this passage. So we've been following through the book of Numbers, this journey of the Israelites in the wilderness, and we know that they spent 38 years from when they left Mount Sinai. They were camped at the base of the mountain. They left, and we heard last week, because of what happened when the spies came back from checking out the land, that they were to wander for another 38 years. So it could have been an 11-day journey to get to the promised land. It ended up taking them 38 years from Mount Sinai. And so by the time they come to the end of these 38 years, all the men 20 years and older had died off. That generation had gone. The only two who were left, besides Moses, was, we heard their names last week, Joshua and Caleb. That's right. They're the only two. They're the only two who got to see and experience the promised land. So let's pick up the story. Numbers 22 verse 1. It says, "Then the Israelites travelled to the plains of Moab. They camped along the Jordan River across from Jericho." So they are being led by God. Remember, the cloud is leading them. When the cloud moves, they pack up camp and they follow the cloud. When the cloud stops, they set up camp again. And so now they're setting up camps in the plains of Moab. They're across the Jordan River from Jericho. Just on the other side of the river is the promised land, Canaan. So they're close. It's within reach. They're on the verge of all that God has promised for them. Canaan, the land flowing with milk and honey. They're just about there. And they're camped on the plains of Moab. So someone is not very happy about this. And that is the king of Moab, a guy by the name of Balak. He's feeling a little bit nervous about all these people who have just set up camp right next to him. And so he's not just nervous, he's actually a little bit afraid. He thinks, because these people could at any moment just overpower him from the plains of Moab. So to help us understand, it's a bit like this. Like, I was born in Christchurch, and then I moved around a bit, and then came back to Christchurch for my high school, for some of my college years there. But I knew that, there were times when you'd drive out of Christchurch, and it didn't take long before you're in the Canterbury Plains, right? Big flat area of land. So just to help us understand, if we would imagine that the entire population of Auckland just came and set up camp on the Canterbury Plains, just out of Christchurch. Probably more than that, actually. There was probably closer to 2 million people have just come, all of Auckland, plus some more, have come and set up camp just out of Christchurch. Now, if you're someone who lives in Christchurch, you'd be getting a little bit nervous about all these Aucklanders. Well, then I thought about it, well, it's just Aucklanders. If they're anything like, their rugby team, they're not much of a threat. Oh, well, that was a bit of a low blow. Sorry, couldn't resist that. But this is what the king of Moab, so he's feeling a little nervous. He's feeling, because this multitude of people have just come and set up camp. They far outnumber him. And so he just wants them gone. He wants them out of there. And so what does he do? He summons a guy by the name of Balaam. This guy called Balaam. And this is what it says in verse 4 of Numbers 22. Balak, that's the king, Zippah's son, was king of Moab at that time. He sent messengers to Balaam, Beor's son, at Pethor, which is by the river in the land of his people, to summon him. A people has come out of Egypt, and they have now covered the land. They have settled next to me. Now please come and curse this people for me, because they are stronger than I am. Perhaps I'll be able to destroy them and drive them from the land. For I know that whomever you bless is blessed, and whomever you curse is cursed. Whomever you bless is blessed, whomever you curse is cursed. So who is this guy, Balaam? Balaam, he was a renowned prophet and seer of the day. He had international influence in the known world. He was a prophet for hire. If you paid the right fee, he would pay you a visit. He was known for blessing and cursing. And even, when he begins to speak, it says that the power of God's Spirit comes upon him. So the power of God would speak through him. When he spoke, his words had the ability to alter the course of history. Battles. A nation might be winning a battle, then Balaam speaks, and the whole course of the battle could change. His words had power. He had the ability to bring a blessing or a curse that could change the course of history. And so King Balak wants to get this guy to come and curse this multitude of people who have set up camp on the plains. So it says in verse 7, Balak's messengers who were elders of Moab and Midian set out with money to pay Balaam to place a curse upon Israel. They went to Balaam and delivered Balak's message to him. So when they arrive with the message, Balaam, what he says to them, well, let me just seek God about this. I'm going to ask God. And so Balaam goes away, seeks God. God says, no, you're not to go with them. He comes back and tells them. And so they return back to King Balak. And King Balak, there is a level of desperation for the king. He's not going to give up. He just wants these people gone. So he says, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my highest officials, the princes of Moab are going to go, and we're going to offer him whatever he wants, whatever it takes to get this guy to come and curse these people. So the princes go off with this message and offer him, this extravagant amount of silver and gold, and just say, look, you've just got to come and come in to see King Balak, the king of Moab, and curse these people for him. So Balaam goes before God, prays again, and this time God says, okay, you can go. But only do what I tell you. That's the condition. You can go with them, but only do what I tell you. So the next morning, Balaam gets up, saddles his donkey, and with his 2 servants, they head off along the road to go to see the king. Now, on the road, it's like God is now trying to get Balaam's attention. We heard the story. He sends an angel to stand in his path. He's trying to wave him down. He's trying to get Balaam's attention as he's on his way, because he wants to reinforce something. As you read the story, you find out he's wanting to make sure Balaam has got the message. What is the message? The message is that you're only to bless these people. The only words that are going to come out of your mouth are words of life and blessing. Otherwise, don't say anything. That's what God wants, is trying to wave him down, get his attention, to make sure he knows that he's only to speak words of life and blessing. He's not to curse these people. He's only to lift them up. He's only to encourage. He's not to tear down. He's not to discourage. These are the only words to come out of your mouth. So he's trying to wave him down. Well, he's put this angel on the road to get his attention. The power of words. You know, we heard a little bit about that last week, how you know, the words of the people, you know, the complaining, the negative talk has a powerful influence. And, you know, there's that Proverbs chapter 18, I think it is, verse 21, which says the tongue has the power of life and death. There's power in your words. You know, our words can bring life and blessing, or they can bring death. They can either encourage or they can discourage. They can build up or they can tear down. So it's important that God gets Balaam's attention so that he gets this right. He's only to speak life and blessing. Now, I think there's something behind the curtain here. Yes, there is. This here. What is this? This is a great tool for smashing things. I don't know if you've ever swung a sledgehammer and tried to smash things with it. I know that's not only what it's for, but they're pretty good at swinging them. If you want to knock something down, if you want to tear something down, you grab a sledgehammer or two or three with a few friends, and you can get some serious destruction done. When we were living in Napier, we had an old shed out the back of our property, which we wanted to get rid of because we wanted to build something nice and new and better there. So what I did, I phoned a few friends, and we got a few sledgehammers together, and we went out there one Saturday afternoon. Not sure how long it was going to take, but I tell you, within 30 minutes of us swinging these sledgehammers, this whole shed was on the ground. It was gone. Left a bit of a mess, but the shed had been destroyed, demolished on the floor. Now, let me tell you, it was a bit different when it came to building the new one, because that took a bit of planning, took a bit of, you know, like we had to take our time, we had to make sure everything was right and everything in place. So what's the point? The point is this: it is far easier to tear down than it is to build up. And when we think of that with our words, it's the same with our words. It is much easier for us to just tear down, to speak negative, to discourage, than it is to affirm and build up. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes intentionality to build up, to speak words that are going to edify and affirm. So God wanted to make sure he got this right with Balaam. You're only to speak life. You're only to speak blessing. Otherwise, zip it. Imagine that, you know, in the life of a church. If we decide, well, the only words that are going to come out of my mouth are words of life and blessing, words are going to encourage and build up. Otherwise, I'm not going to say anything. Imagine how that would transform a community, even in your family situation. Imagine if you decided as a family, then man, we're just going to speak words of life and blessing. We're only going to build each other up. We're only going to encourage. We're only going to speak life. It would make a difference. I'm just thinking about my own household. It would make a difference. So this is what God is he's trying to wave Balaam down to make sure he knows he's got to get this right. So let's have a look. How does he do that? Well, he sends an angel. Balaam's on his way, and God is trying to get his attention. In Numbers 22, verse 22, it says, "The angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding on his donkey. His two servants were with him." Now, we know from the story, we saw that Balaam didn't see the angel. He only saw one thing. Well, two things, probably one in front of each eye. Dollar sign, dollar sign. He only saw the reward, this extravagant offer from the king. So all he wants to do is get to the king, get into the king's presence, because this is quite exciting. There's a possibility of quite a handsome reward here. So he is just wanting to get there, wanting to move on. Balaam cannot see the Lord's messenger. I would say that he was sleepwalking. Now, I know he's on a donkey, so it's not like he's walking, but he is asleep. I don't know if anyone's experienced sleepwalking yourself, or you've seen anyone else sleepwalking, but when you're sleepwalking, you're obviously not fully aware of what's going on, and you might get escorted back to your bed and wake up in the morning and may have no recollection of what's going on. Well, Balaam, I say he's asleep. Now, he might be awake physically, but he is asleep spiritually. And we can do that. I mean, we can all do that. We can go through our day, because we've heard already this morning, Pam said, it is hectic out there. And so we can go through our day in the busyness of life, and we can be doing a lot of stuff. We're awake physically, but we are asleep. We're sleepwalking spiritually. We're just not tuned in. We're missing what God might be trying to say to us. Because I think, he is continually trying to show us things and speak to us. It says in verse 23, because there is an angel standing in the middle of the road, the donkey saw the Lord's messenger standing in the road. The donkey turned from the road and went into the field. Balaam struck the donkey in order to turn her back onto the road. The donkey saw the angel. Now, they say that animals are, they're spiritually, they're in tune, they can be aware of things. Well, in this story, the donkey sees the angel. Not Balaam, not his servants. The donkey sees the angel, not once, but 3 times in the story. Balaam, he just wanted to get back on the road, so he's beating his donkey to get back on the road. Let's get going. I've got places to be. I've got people to see. I haven't got time for this. Let's just keep going. I've got to get to the king. Remember dollar signs. That's all he could see. So the donkey saw the angel of the Lord. Balaam did not. His focus, I say he was consumed with his own agenda, that he was blind to God's agenda. And sometimes, I think we can end up in that place as well. We become so consumed with what we're about, what we've got to do, that we can miss. Our eyes are just completely blind to what God is trying to do. And so this is Balaam. He's just not seeing it. Donkey's seeing it, and he's not seeing it. His focus on the future took his eyes off the present. His focus was somewhere else. He didn't see what was right before him, right in front of his eyes. He could only see the possibility of riches, the opportunity for wealth. For him, it was all about getting to where he wanted to be. His focus in the future took his eyes off the now. And sometimes, I think we can be so focused out here. What's out here? What's ahead, that we can miss the God of the now, who's wanting to speak to us right here, right now. He's the God of the now. He is continually working in the now. It says he's the great I am, not the great I was, or the great has been. God is the great I am. He is the God who is at work right now. And sometimes we just got to wake up, or we'll miss him. Like Balaam, he was missing this moment because his focus was somewhere else. We can be in the room, but not in the room. We can be in the room, but not in the room. I've been in church services where, and this is as myself as well, you can be in church and you can have 2 people on the same row in church. One is having just an incredible, life-changing encounter with God. And then a couple of seats along, you've got someone who's looking at their watch, wondering what they're going to have for lunch. Sometimes we can be in the room, but not in the room. We can miss God trying to get our attention. So Balaam, he was somewhere else. His focus was somewhere else. He was missing this altogether. And the donkey, who is fully tuned in, seeing it all, is now becoming a problem for Balaam. This donkey who is just becoming a problem for him. And so the story goes, 3 times the donkey will see the angel. 3 times the donkey will stop because it can see the angel. And 3 times Balaam will beat the donkey to get back on the road. And then that's when it gets a little interesting. In verse 28, 29, it says, Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and she said to Balaam, What have I done to you, that you have beaten me these 3 times? Balaam said to the donkey, Because you've tormented me. If I had a sword in my hand, I'd kill you now. The donkey said to Balaam, Am I not your donkey on whom you've often ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you? Balaam said, No. It's interesting, you just imagine him having this conversation with his donkey, and he doesn't even seem too fazed by it. It's like, okay, the donkey's talking. There's no like, wow, my donkey's talking to me. It's like, it's almost like he's so fixated with getting to where he wants to go that he's just engaging with the donkey and wanting to get back on track as soon as he can. But what's happening is now that the God is now using the donkey to get his attention. The reality was, if it wasn't for the donkey seeing the angel, Balaam would have missed this altogether, and it would have ended really badly for him, if you read the story. So the moral of the story is, always keep an animal close. No, because they're tuned into spiritual thing. No, it's important to make sure. Now, this is key. Make sure you surround yourself, and we've talked about this before, is surround yourself with people who are tuned in to the things of the Spirit. Make sure you're getting people around you. I mean, yeah, we've got to stay tuned in ourselves, but we're not always going to pick up on God's promptings, His nudges, the things He's trying to say to us. So if you've got people in your life who you know are tuned in, you can check in. This is what I try and do often, is just check in with people and say, what do you feel God's saying about this? What are you sensing in God? What is God trying to do in this situation? Stay close to people who are tuned in and seek their counsel, seek their wisdom. So Balaam says no. And it's like, then it says, the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and Balaam saw the Lord's messenger standing in the road with his sword drawn in his hand. Then he bowed low and worshipped. So all of a sudden, Balaam's eyes are open. He can now see the angel of the Lord. And the first thing he does is he bows low and he worshipped. When were his eyes open? He had to take his eyes off getting into the presence of the king. Had to take his eyes off the possibility of an extravagant, handsome reward, and focus on what was happening right there and then in the now. Then he saw what God was trying to do. Then he saw the angel of the Lord. He had to look away from all that distracted. He had to look away from everything else and focus on the now. And that's what I loved what you said, Pam, because I think that's exactly right. There is an invitation to every one of us. God invites us into that place where we would just slow down, almost pull aside, and take some time just to fix our eyes, or allow our eyes to be opened to what God is doing, what He's trying to say to us. And then God will go on to say, look, He begins to talk to Balaam about this, the importance of blessing these people. When you get there, you're only to say words of blessing. Otherwise, keep your mouth shut. And then Balaam will continue on his journey. There's I'm going to finish with this. Some verses in Hebrews. There's a whole lot more in that passage, but we're going to continue the book of Numbers. We've still got some more to talk about here, but I want us just to think about having our eyes open. Because, like I said before, we can sleepwalk our way through life. We can be asleep and miss what God is trying to say to us. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, it says, Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, who by faith have testified to the truth of God's absolute faithfulness, stripping off every unnecessary weight and the sin which so easily and cleverly entangles us. Let us run with endurance and active persistence the race that is set before us, looking away from all that will distract us and focusing our eyes on Jesus. Now, when you hear those verses initially, it sounds like, okay, man, I've just got to... The goal in life is to run this race, is to run fast. I've got to get as much done and be as busy as I can. That's what it can seem like when you read it. We've all got a race to run. And you are surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses, all those who've gone before us in the faith. It's like we're in the stadium and we're running and they're cheering us on, which is a great picture. But it's not about being in a hurry to get as much as possible done. That's not what the verse is saying. It's almost like it's a learned ability or skill to get to the point where you can actually go through life, through everything that's going on in your world, keeping your eyes on Jesus. Because so often as we go through life, we get busy doing stuff and Jesus he's just not even on the radar. We're focused on this, we're focused on that. It's a real skill to be able to go through life keeping your eyes fixed on Him. And I think to do that, you've got to start slow. You've got to slow right down. Know what it is to keep your eyes on Jesus. And then as you keep your eyes on Jesus, you begin to introduce some more things. You begin to move a little quicker. But the moment you lose sight of Him, slow down again. Oops. Okay, I got to come back. I got to get my eyes back on Jesus because I was getting a little carried away. This was coming in, this thing. So as we run the race, continually with our eyes on Jesus, continually looking to Him. If we start losing sight of Him, slow down. Get your eyes back on Him. I love the Amplified. It says there, looking away from all that will distract us and focusing our eyes on Jesus. There are so many things that can take our eyes off Jesus. So many things that can distract us, pull us away from the present, being alert and alive to Him in the now. And so this is what Balaam had to do. He had to adjust his focus. He had to look away from everything else going on and focus on God, what God was doing right now. God had an important thing to say to him. He had to wake up in the now and focus on God in that moment. And it's the same for you and I. Now, we might not have an angel appear before us, or we may not hear a donkey talk, but God He can use any number of things to get our attention if we would just continually look away from everything that would distract and keep our eyes on Him. The things that are ahead, maybe the stuff in front of you that's taking your focus. Look away. Look to Jesus. Maybe there's things in the past, things behind and that have happened which are pulling your attention back there. Look away from everything that would distract. Fix your eyes on Him. Maybe you got a list to do. Who's got a to-do list? A big list of things that you got to get done. There's all these things going on. Well, take some time. Just look away from the list. Fix your eyes on Jesus. It's okay to take your eyes off the list. The list is still going to be there. Fix your eyes on Jesus. The challenges, the difficulties. Look away from it and see Jesus. See Jesus. Sometimes we've got to look away from all that will distract us and focus our eyes on Jesus. The next thing Balaam did was he bowed down and he worshipped. I want us to take some time just this morning as we finish to do that, is to focus our eyes on Jesus and to worship Him. Jesus, completely, like eyes off all that's going on all around us, and just fix our eyes on Jesus for a moment and allow Him to minister to you, to speak to you. Jesus, He's the one who walks on water. He's the giver of life. He's the great healer. He's the one who can raise people from the dead. This is Jesus. He's the source of joy, the giver of peace. He's the one who restores hope.